What's up, fam? I thought we'd do a quick little video on how I'm setting up an automated watering system for the 4x4. As you guys know, I switched over to Floraflex and Coco, and the watering has been extreme. I have to water these things all the time to the point where I need something to take care of it if I'm gone for a few days or maybe even for a week. And with the Floraflex, it makes it really easy because all I have to do is mix it into the water. So really it's just pumping water, and as long as everything's watered, everything's gonna be going great. So for this setup, I just went with a really budget kind of build here, guys. I got the GrowTech drip irrigation rings from growtechusa.com. Check them out. The rings are only $6 a piece for the 6-inch, but I went with these because I thought they'd give really uniform coverage over the soil when it's actually watering. So it gets the whole pot all around really even, rather than just like having a hose pipe in there and dump some water in. It's really gonna water evenly around the pot. But for this setup, I have a basic water pump that I found on Amazon for a really good price. It has adjustable flow and it has the right fitting on top for what I need. And so linked to that, we have some 1/2-inch PVC pipe. And then from there, I have a reducer from a 1/2-inch to a 1/4 PVC pipe that I'm gonna run into the tent. And then from there, it goes off on the T-splitter into the drip rings. And then there is some valves on there so you can control either back pressure or shut off a drip ring if needed. So I think that's a really nice feature and something you should have definitely if you're setting this up for a tent. You're gonna want the ability to be able to stop watering a plant if for some reason you have an issue and have to pull it or it doesn't make it, you know, whatever reason you might need, you want the ability to shut a drip ring off if you need to, so it's not just spewing water for no reason if for whatever reason you don't have a plant there. Definitely have the shut off valves on there. And yeah, guys, one thing I found when piecing this all together is the inner diameter of pipes and the advertised listing diameters on Amazon can be a bit tricky because they could say 1/4 inch, but definitely not fit in there properly. So I'll link everything in the description below that I have here, and it definitely all fits together and works well. But with this system, basically, I have some 12-gallon reservoirs, one for bloom, one for veg, which is great for the autos and the perpetual. I can have the veg ones going with a veg feed for as many weeks as I need, and then, you know, switch over to the bloom tank when they transition over. So it's really gonna be an easy system, and I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. But mainly setting this up for CannaFest when we're gonna be gone, and we're gonna have to be away from the garden for 3+ days. With the cocoa, like, you can't miss that many waterings, especially in late flower. They're just chugging it down. So really this whole setup is very easy. Like, this is the whole absolutely like water requirement for this setup in terms of what we need to get water into the plant beds. And then the only other thing, like I said, is the trash cans for the reservoir, which were just cheap. I found at the hardware store. And then there's an app controlled timer, and that's pretty critical because it does take a little bit of measuring. Like, you definitely want to make sure the distance between the hoses on where it goes from the T from the pump to the drip rings, you want to make sure it's even on both sides, or you'll get a result where you could have more water being outputted off the side with like the shorter hose versus the longer hose side, because it's going to pump at a different rate. So it's really important to keep all the hosing the same length when you start to branch off to multiple drip rings. But you can compensate that. Like, if you have the shutoff valves, you can reduce the flow rate to one of the other rings by closing down on the valve, so that will kind of balance it out and you can actually balance it. So what I'll have to do is hook this whole system up, figure out how long it takes to run the pump to get the amount of water that I want out of it to dispense, and then just set the timer on the app controlled power strip to run the pump for that amount of time. So I'll basically get this all set up, run it through a couple time trials, and then see basically how many minutes it takes to run the pump to get, say, a 1/2 gallon of water to be dispensed out of both drip rings. So that's basically all the setup there is to it, and that's pretty easy. It's just setting a timer, running it, measuring the water output, and then just setting your timer for that equal amount of time. So like, again, everything will be in the description below, guys. And if you want to set up one of these automated watering systems for yourself, I think it'll definitely help with your grows and just make everything easier, especially if you're running like a cocoa mix with synthetic newts. It just makes it a little easier because you don't have to be there as much to water every day, especially if you're hand watering with cocoa. It just goes really quickly and you'll find yourself watering nonstop, and if you're not there to water, then it can be detrimental. So this is definitely going to help, but we'll go through and just kind of cover the rest of the setup and how it's all in the tent, guys, and hopefully give you a better idea on how to do this. I got the 1/2-inch hose, took to the pump and then to the 1/4 inch adapter. I put some zip ties on there just to make sure everything stays safe. And pro tip, if you guys are looking how to cut off zip ties, flush to the thing. Some clippers do great, but that'll just make sure the hose doesn't pop off, especially if you plan on running this, like, you know, when you're not around, which is probably why you're probably setting it up like me. You just want to make sure those hoses don't pop off, and sometimes this flexible PVC hosing can get a little looser, so this will just make sure there's no leaks and these won't pop off at all. So going from the pump to a 1/2-inch hose, only need enough to get out of the reservoir, and then it goes into a 1/4 inch tube to the tent. Already got the air stone in the bottom there. Everything's ready. I just gotta throw the pump in and do some test pumps and figure out the timing on this. And then basically I have this timer set to go every day. This app controlled power strip will turn in on and off these outlets on a schedule. So I just have to set it for how many minutes it has to run to pump the water I need for the day through the plant, and it will just pull it from these reservoirs, and it should be a pretty easy setup to keep everything going. So finish setting this up. So as you guys can see, I did cut a little hole in the lids to these trash cans to run the water feed hose out. And it has an air line going in for the aerator stone, and then the power coming out for the thing. And it actually makes it pretty easy. You can just dump water in, and this will just flow down and fill up the reservoir. So it's just going to pump out the water from here, feed into the tent, but it's pretty basic. So now that I have the main feed hose out coming from the pump, we'll hook this up to the 1/4 inch line and then run that into the tent with the drip rings. We're just running the pumps on time, and then I'm just measuring out how much water is coming out of each bucket. And then we're gonna see how long we have to run the pump for to get the equal amount of water, or how much basically we want to water. So I'm basically going for a 1/2 gallon. So I'm just letting these run. Definitely helps if they're level as far as like getting the drips to come out all the way around the ring. But it does have some mounting holes down here that you can see to level it out in your pot. But basically I'm thinking about 4 minutes for 2 rings. We'll get about a 1/2 gallon each, and that should be good for the veg phase here. But yeah, it's pretty easy, just set it up. But once I figure out how much water I want to give them, it's just a matter of plugging it in to the timer and then just having it pump out of the reservoirs over here. And then we'll just set that timer up for the same schedule. And then yeah, the automated timer is pretty dope. It's super cheap, and you can get ones that run more outlets, but this one for 3 kind of worked perfect for the 2 pumps. And then I have the aerator stones kick on just a little bit before feed time, just to agitate the water in there and stuff like that. So it's a pretty dope setup, I think, guys. It's definitely gonna help with the watering. But yeah, the drip rings from GrowTech were great. These things are awesome. So as you guys can see, after about 4 minutes of run time, that equals pretty much exactly a 1/2 gallon each drip ring. So that works perfectly for me. I'll be able to dial that in and then just, you know, increase the time or decrease the time to more or less water. So it's all set up for basically what I need it for the veg side. It's just going to give each plant about a 1/2 gallon a day, and then we can increase or decrease as we notice dryness or oversaturation. But yeah, super excited for this. All we gotta do is install the drip rings on the veg plants, and then we're all set. We're off to the automation race. One thing I realized I needed pretty quickly was a way to quickly disconnect the water line from the drip rings, either to remove plants from the tent so I could defoliate or work on them or work on training, or just moving the plants around the tent. I needed a way to disconnect, so I added a quick disconnect in between the ring and the water line so I could just shut the water off and disconnect the hose to either slide the plant out, because some of the plants with FloraFlex were getting so thick you cannot remove the drip ring once the plant has grown inside of it until the end when you cut the plant down, and you can remove it. But I needed a way to do that, so the quick disconnects were added. They're definitely worth it. You're definitely going to want to add those into your system just so it's easier to manage, work on your plants in your garden, and get around your tent. Another great thing about the disconnects is they do have a mounting hole in there, so I took an extra gardening stake and I bent it to make a holder that will hold the drip rings level. Keeping the drip rings level is important because it helps the water disperse evenly throughout the ring. So these little holders just make it easy to have a single point to hold and hang the ring above the plant base. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've been running with this auto watering setup for a couple months now, and it's been working amazing, especially if you run FloraFlex, where all you have to do is mix up water. I can easily mix up a week, 2 weeks worth of water and just let the plants go with the feed, and all I have to do is check on them, do some minor leaf tucking or training, and let the plants grow. It's been very easy. This would also work amazing with organic growers who are running dry amendments. If you're just looking for something to water your plants automatically every day, every couple days, and however much water you normally would water at, you can definitely set that up with this system and have something automated that's gonna take care of your plants when you can't, because life takes over and you can't always be in the garden or home to water your plants. So this is just kind of my solution to help with that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, links to everything down in the description below. Definitely smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, and hit subscribe and the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. We'll see you guys in the next one.